Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wagertalk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wagertalk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, y'all. Welcome to the NBA Triple-Double Show, powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as handicapper on SportsMemo.com, at handicapper on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt and Tony Finn from Wagertalk today to break down 3 of today's games in the NBA. Before we get into those games, though, I do want to shout out SportsMemo.com and Wagertalk.com. Head over to those sites today. Utilize the free live odds pages. Utilize all the free information that you can get from cappers on a daily basis. Handicappers from both SportsMemo and Wagertalk.com post their picks and daily packages at different prices. So you want to make sure you head over there and see what everyone has going on. Not only just the NBA, but you got other sports going on right now. Obviously, NCAA tournament going on. We got some baseball coming up as well. Soccer, hockey, UFC on the weekends. Everything's popping over at sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. So make sure you head over to the site after the show. And before you go, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It always just takes a couple of clicks. It also helps our show grow tremendously as we continue to go through the NBA season here. With that said, let's get Matt and Tony up here with me. Matt and Tony, I like to start the show pretty transparent. This week been pretty good. Positive week so far in the NBA. How is everything going for you guys? Tony, let's start with you.
Yesterday was a rough day as far as March Madness goes. Before we came on, the outtakes were my brackets pretty much shot. And I'm embellishing, I'm exaggerating to some degree, but I think we all felt that a little bit. If you had a few bad beats, some, as we spoke, meaningless free throws or important free throws, everything that goes around comes around. It'll all even out in the end if you live long enough and your memory's short enough, should I say. But NBA, 2 prop winners in the NBA. Although I had two over the totals yesterday that both of them came up a little bit short. So, but it's been pretty good. NBA's been pretty good since the calendar flipped from December to January, and March Madness is only one day old. So, who knows what tomorrow or today or tomorrow brings, right? So let's get it on.
Probably a lot more upsets today as well. Matt, how's your week going so far?
Yeah, honestly, it's been a pretty solid week. I had one bump in the road. When I came on Wednesday, we were 5-3-1. That Wednesday, I sadly had one of those just shitty 0-3 days where I lost on the hook to Zach LaVine. I had the Chicago Bulls money line, and De'Aaron Fox put a dagger in my back. And it just goes like that sometimes. So yesterday, I put out one play, just wanted to rebound. I was very confident in Pascal Siakam. And it was one of those spots, too, where Pascal Siakam had missed 7 games in a row. Went and looked at his number, and the books adjusted his line up. So to me, that was kind of one of those tell signs. The books are expecting Siakam to go off. Siakam did go off. We're back on the winning ways. We're 6-6-1 on the week and looking to end this week in the positive. It's a great slate today and ready to break it down with everyone.
Love it. Yeah, let's get into it. The first game up, we got the Warriors and the Hawks here. Warriors 36-34 on the season, coming off of a loss to the Clippers in LA. This is the second of a 5-game road trip for them. Also the first leg of back-to-back games. They have a key conference game against the Grizzlies on deck. On the Hawks side, 34-35 on the season, currently on a 2-game losing streak. They haven't played since they lost to the Wolves by 21 at home on Monday. So they are the more rested team. They're probably motivated to get back to on the right side here after a big loss. Injury perspective, Peyton, Wiggins, Draymond, and Iggy are all out. Curry is questionable. Looney should play. From what I heard, Curry, even though he's listed as questionable, they're expecting him to play tonight. From a matchup perspective, Warriors won and covered the first matchup this season at home, 143-141, and that game went into double OT. they covered as 1.5 point favorites in that game. No Curry in that first matchup. Now they're in Chicago. In Atlanta here. Matt, let's start with you here. What is your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Ron, we were talking briefly before the show, and I am just absolutely drooling for this game. This game is going to have so much pace, with the Golden State Warriors, who have the top pace in all of basketball, the Atlanta Hawks, who are also a top 10 team in pace, and we have a 248-point total, okay? Mm-hmm. This game will also be featured by the guards. You got Steph Curry and Trae Young, who are two of the softer defending guards throughout the NBA, definitely two players that you can exploit in your game plan. And because of that, I do expect a lot of points. I actually did give a best bet on this game earlier on Prop It Up with Andy Lang and Andrew McGinnis, but I have another great look for this game, and I think it's the first quarter over 61.5 points. Again, this is one of those games where there is going to be a ton of pace. The Golden State Warriors are coming off a road loss against the Los Angeles Clippers, and if you're the Golden State Warriors right now, you have to be sick and tired of hearing how bad you are on the road. This is a Golden State Warriors team averaging 124 points given up per game while on the road. That is second worst throughout the NBA. And now they're facing an Atlanta Hawks team who it seems like every other outing when you go and check their box score, it's a 250-point night, So this Atlanta Hawks team is just playing at a very high pace. Their average possession on offense, their length of possession is one of the shortest throughout the NBA as well. They're top 10 in that. So for me, I'm really looking at this first quarter. I think both teams are going to come to play here. The Atlanta Hawks are also coming off of 2 losses in a row. So both teams are going to be poised to come out, play early and often in this game, be aggressive, score the basketball. So again, because of that, I like the look of the over 61.5 first quarter. This is going to be a great game. I just hope it lives up to the hype.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty much a track meet. I know you like these games for SGPs as well, these high total plays. Tony, what are your thoughts on this game here? Are you looking towards the over in this high total?
Well, yeah, I think that's where you have to look. But it's as Matt described here, outlined. It's difficult to just ignore the fact that this Warriors team 0-9 straight up and against the spread in their last 9 road games. Early in the season, we thought this will come back around as the world champions they'll get it right. They'll figure it out. They will get the rotations correct in certain situations to allow them to be better defensively. Really, that's been the question mark. Is this team's just they're not as young as they were when they were when they were on this great run, and there was Curry and there was Thompson and et cetera, et cetera. And Green was at his peak too defensively. No Draymond Green due to the suspension, 16th technical foul suspension, by the way, guys, which is always interesting. I find that interesting. He's year in, year out, he's right there at the end of the season. Curry, he just popped up on the report, with a thumb problem on his left hand. It's not a shooting hand; it's his left hand. This is probably why the line has flipped a little bit to the Hawks being minus 3.5, 4 consensus across the board. The Hawks 7-9 straight up, 6-10 against the spread, last 16. Not very good for a team who's fighting for a spot, in the bracket seating. And the fifth worst defense in the NBA over that span, almost 120 per 100 possessions per cleaningglass.com. They're 3-5 against the spread with one of my favorite coaches of all time, Quinn Snyder, in his early stages of now Atlanta Hawks tenure, whatever that may be. And Quinn Snyder flips, man. One day he doesn't care about defense and he's going to be offensive, heavy. And then the next day he's going to be, let's slow it down and be deliberate and conservative, very unpredictable. After a while, though, Quinn becomes very predictable. This game, I'm not in this game. I don't have my arms wrapped around it. I don't have a lot vested into it, but it's hard to ignore what this Warriors team's done on the road.
Exactly. I know. Basically on the road, giving it up like crazy lately, especially post All-Star break. They're 0-5 straight up and against the spread, giving it up at 127.8 points per game in that spot there post All-Star break, like on the road, like I mentioned. Hawks 4th in the league in offensive rating post All-Star break. So a lot of things pointing towards the Hawks, really just putting up a whole bunch of points here for the Hawks and on their spreads here post All-Star break at home. 3-3 straight up, 2-4 against the spread, 5-1 to the over, averaging 125 per game, allowing 124.3 per game. This seems like it really is going to be a track meet here. 148 is the total. I can only look towards the over here. One thing that I did notice, the Warriors without Draymond Green and Curry playing in the game. So there's only been one instance so far this season. Draymond out, Curry in. They faced the Nuggets in Denver. They lost that game 134-117. That's well above the 248 total here. I think the only play is the over, but it's just such a high total. It might take it to the last couple minutes for it to sneak over. From a side perspective, it's really tough to call just because of how the road splits are. Warriors obviously struggling on the road. Hawks not in great form defensively. Can't really trust either team on the side. So yeah, for me, it would be over or nothing. Let's move on to the next game here, the Wolves and the Bulls. Wolves 35-35 on the season, coming off a 2-point loss to the Celtics. This is the first of a 3-game Eastern Conference road trip. First leg of back-to-back games for them as well. They have the Raptors on deck tomorrow. Bulls 31-37 on the season, coming off a loss to the Kings on Wednesday. That's the one that I had the Bulls money line as well, just like Matt, got that loss in that last 3-pointer. This is the second of a 3-game homestand for them. Yeah. First leg of back-to-back games as well. So both teams on the first leg of back-to-back games, they have the Heat on deck tomorrow. From an injury perspective, Cat out for the Wolves, Jalen Noel out for the Wolves, Rivers, Gobert, Naz Reid, all questionable tonight. Javonte Green is unlikely to play. Caruso questionable for the Bulls. From a matchup perspective, Wolves won and covered that first matchup this season, 150-126 at home. The Wolves are a totally different team this time around, though, guys. Tony, let's start with you here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, a couple of things real quick. We're talking about Curry, their road record, et cetera. 248 guys. People say 248 is going to be high score. Everything doesn't have to go right to get over or under a 248. Only one thing has to go wrong for a team for that to come up under 248, whereas the other way around, right? And you need a competitive game too. Is this one of those games where if the Warriors get down, Atlanta shoots well, Murray has a great night, and things fall the way of Quinn and the Hawks, then you're going to see a sloppy game from the Warriors. So that's new to have. I know it's the last game, but much of that applies to the whole card tonight, guys, and that is it's clarity from this injury report. We're getting very little clarity. Typically, I can have a feel, or I have some sources who can say, listen, this happened and this happened. So the likelihood and the probability is going to be that this player is inactive or he's going to be inactive, one of those two things. And it gets harder and harder and harder as we get closer to the end of the regular season. Who's playing, who's not playing, who cares, who doesn't care, those kinds of things, and situational handicapping. Caruso, this is Gobert, Rivers, Reed, like you mentioned, Ronald, questionable for Minnesota. Those three guys don't play, then the Bulls have a chance, right? Caruso, he didn't play. He was questionable for Chicago. He didn't play against Sacramento when he was questionable. So a lot of people think questionable's in. It's not necessarily true. Again, this is finding clarity. Neither one of these teams, I think they're both nothing burgers when it comes to the playoffs. Sure, they may get in and they may please the fan base, at least for a round one, but I think they're nothing burgers. Chicago, I don't think they have a chance in hell. As far as Minnesota goes, there's always that chance because they do have some talent, but they're injury riddled right now, and this is a pretty tough game for me to even consider digging into.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, those are a lot of key players there that you think about that really influences like the total for the most part, right? Gobert defensively, Caruso is a defensive-minded player as well. Matt, what are your thoughts on this one? Are you going to kind of wait for the injury report as well, or do you see anything on this game that you could take advantage of before the injury report?
Yeah, honestly, I actually like this game. Real quick, I want to go back to that Warriors-Hawks game one more time because Tony brought up a great
go
point.
ahead.
with Draymond Green being out for one, okay, that I looked up Kevon Looney after that, and when Draymond Green is out, Kevon Looney has gotten at least 26 minutes in his last 8 matchups. So because of that, you can see some extended run from Kevon Looney, maybe his rebound prop, something along those lines. And then another player that I think is worth a pivot potentially is DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter would have been matched up with Draymond Green or someone along those lines. And when the Warriors are missing Draymond Green and both Andrew Wiggins, and again, I really appreciate Tony bringing this up because I forgot about that Draymond Green 16th technical foul, which equals a 1-game suspension. So now you would assume this game could pick up even more potentially. Tony brings up another great point where it does take one small thing for that game to go under. But with key guys like Draymond out and Andrew Wiggins continuing to be out, that's the Warriors' top 2 defenders. So that could open things up a little bit more. And again, when you see those key guys out, think about what players can take advantage or get a little more volume or have a little bit better matchup because of that. And the first guys that come to mind for me are DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella, and then, of course, DeJounte Murray, which I already talked about on the other show. But now we get to the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Chicago Bulls. You know, Rod, I'm glad you felt that one with me because when De'Aaron Fox was bringing that ball up, I was on Xbox Live playing 2K with my boys, and I was like, dude, this son of a bitch is about to make this shot. I was like, I already know it. He's just going to put a dagger in me. And Ayo was like 10 feet off of him with like 5 seconds left. So I was like, what are you doing? But either way, dude, De'Aaron Fox is absolutely balling. But, you know, I was on the Bulls then, and I'm on the Bulls once again. I like the Bulls here actually at -2.5, and I do think this is a great bounce back spot for them. And someone that I'm really looking to depend on once again here is going to be Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is facing his old team in the Minnesota Timberwolves. When Zach LaVine is aggressive and pressing the basket, he's one of the more dangerous players throughout the entire NBA. And one aspect that I really do like from this game is, you know, I would like to see Rudy Gobert in, but if Rudy Gobert is in, Nikola Vucevic tends to hang out at that 3-point line. So he pulls Rudy Gobert potentially away from that basket, and then Zach LaVine has more of a lane to it. He's more probable to attack, things like that. So I really do like that matchup because Vucevic can help to pull him away from that basket. And as we know, this Chicago Bulls team is one of those NBA teams who can beat anyone in the NBA and they can lose to anyone in the NBA. And, you know, the Alex Caruso being questionable is something that I'd like to pay attention to personally as well, because I really would love that Alex Caruso and Anthony Edwards matchup. Because, again, when you have Pat Bev and Alex Caruso out there, at least you have 2 quality on-ball defenders who can match up with Anthony Edwards at this point in time. And when I look at this Minnesota Timberwolves team, this is a team that I've been kind of waiting to fall off at some point. Yeah, they definitely have the talent with Karl Anthony Towns, but I don't know when he's coming back. If he is coming back, I thought he was supposed to be back at this point in time. And then, you know, they have Jalen Noel coming off of the bench as well, but he's out on top of that. So this team just doesn't have all that many scorers at this point in time. You know, you're relying on guys like Kyle Anderson to put it in the bucket, and I just don't see that happening tonight. You know, again, this is a Chicago Bulls team who is actually 11th in adjusted overall net rating, while the Minnesota Timberwolves are 22nd on top of that. So this is a Bulls team who, in terms of statistics, is rated better than this Minnesota Timberwolves team, and they have a higher rated defense than this Minnesota Timberwolves team on top of that. So in this spot, I think the Bulls are still fighting for playoff positioning. Definitely agree with Tony. If they get into the playoffs, I don't see them doing anything, but I still think it's a team that's capable of getting at least to the play-in game, and with their roster makeup, they want to make the playoffs. They want to try and get some experience in the playoffs. You know, they want to try and get some of these veterans some runs. So for me, I think they're going to keep pressing forward. I think they're going to definitely try and win this game, try and go on a run here to end the season. So for me, I'm with the Bulls at -2.5, and I do think the Timberwolves are going to start to slip a little bit.
Yeah, I think the Bulls were one of those teams who have been sort of like underperforming throughout the season. And it's a big part of that point guard position that Lonzo Ball they're missing from Lonzo Ball, right? That creator on the offensive side of the ball. So they've been struggling without him all season long. Obviously, he's out for the rest of the season. Now they got Pat Bev, who really slows down the offense, who really focuses on the defensive side of the ball. So post All-Star break, they're actually the slowest paced team in the league, while the Wolves, they play pretty fast paced. But you know, the Wolves, they're struggling on the offensive side of the ball. playing solid defense, though, 6th in the league in defensive rating. A lot of the trends are telling me that this should go over, but a lot of the current form metrics really says that this should go under. So from a total perspective, I'm going to be staying away here, but I agree with you, Matt. I think this is a bull spot here. Wolves' typical path to victory has been points in the paint, fast break points. Bulls, they've been limiting that post All-Star break pretty well. They aren't if the Wolves aren't knocking down their threes tonight, it could be a long night for the Wolves there. I think the Bulls should get it tonight. I feel like they get the win. It's a short line, so you're really asking them to not. They don't have to win by margin. Is pretty much what I'm trying to get at. So I think the Bulls is the play. One way that I was some way I don't know if I'm gonna take this play, but this is something that I saw with Patrick Beverley with the Chicago Bulls this season. He's only been with them for 9 games. He has a player prop over 4.5 rebounds. He's hit this number in 8 of the 9 games he's played, averaging 6.9 rebounds per game. That is something that's really interesting to me because you don't expect that type of stat or that type of run from Patrick Beverley, in my opinion. And I think if Caruso is out, he's going to get more minutes, get more opportunity. He's getting 10.3 rebounding chances per game during that 9-game span with the Bulls here. He got double-digit rebounds in the last 2 games. He had 6 rebounds over his old squad earlier this season while he was still with the Lakers. So, I mean, he's getting the opportunities here. Bulls, not the best at offensive rebounding, 27th in the league in offensive rebounding percentage, 28th in giving up rebounds to the guard position. So this is an interesting look, a weird trend. Pat Beverley over 4.5 rebounds. It's an ugly play, but it might hit tonight, guys. Let's move on to this last game here. Mavericks and the Lakers. Mavs 35-35 on the season, coming off an OT win over the Spurs here. This is the second of a 3-game road trip. They don't play until Monday when they face the Grizzlies, so they got a few days of rest in between games here. Lakers 34-36 on the season, trying to get to 500. Coming off an outright loss to the Rockets. They did not have AD that game, though. He should be in tonight. First of a 5-game homestand following 2 straight road games. Injury perspective, Luka is out. Whole bunch of guys questionable here. JaVale McGee, Markieff Morris, Kyrie, Tim Hardaway, all questionable. Lakers continue to be without LeBron, no Mo Bamba. AD is listed as probable, but I think he should play tonight. Is from the news that I heard earlier today. Matchup perspective, Mavs won first 2 matchups this season. The Lakers won the most recent one in Dallas, 111-108. As 4.5 dogs here. This is a tough game, right? Because you have Luka and Kyrie. Luka out, Kyrie possibly in. Not really sure yet, but Matt, what are your thoughts on this game here? How are you going to tackle it?
Yeah, I'm with you, Ron. This is one of those games where I'm really not all that sure what to do with it. You know, there is so much injury news that we need to come to light before making an educated decision, and especially that decision coming with Kyrie. You know, Kyrie is the guy who's going to make this Dallas Mavericks offense go. The Los Angeles Lakers are one of the worst teams throughout the NBA in terms of guarding the point guard position. So yeah, that's a pretty important in or out with Kyrie Irving. So for me, I definitely wouldn't make a pick on a side without Kyrie being in. But in terms of the total, I do expect this to be somewhat of a slower basketball game. Again, I need to kind of find out that news on Kyrie before making an educated decision on an over-under, because Kyrie is one of those guys who he really picks up the pace for this Dallas Mavericks team. And since he became a member of the Dallas Mavericks, he has increased the pace of play for the Mavs, and he's also decreased the Mavericks defense. So because, you know, he is a great offensive talent, but he's also someone that you can exploit on the defensive end. So for me, I would need more news on Kyrie, but if in fact Kyrie is out, I would look to the under here. I think the 227 is a little high. Without Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, that also means that the Dallas Mavericks will most likely be starting Jaden Hardy at the point guard position once again. I don't even know if any of the books will have props out on him, but that is where I would actually look in this game if he is out. Anthony Davis's line for his points plus rebounds is around 40, 42.5, something along those lines. That's just a really high number. I don't know if I can get down with that. I understand that Anthony Davis would be in a premier spot and can definitely go out and hit this total. But when it gets that high, it's kind of tough for me to get down with it. But once again, you know, the guys that I would look at here would be Jaden Hardy or the under 227 if, in fact, Kyrie Irving is out.
Yeah, this one's a tough one without knowing Kyrie's status. Luca obviously out there. One thing that I did see with Luca out and Kyrie in, if he does play today, the Mavericks are actually 2-0 straight up and 2-0 against the spread. They beat the Kings and the Clippers, two pretty solid teams there. Now they're 5.5 point dogs to lesser opponent of those two teams. I feel like the Mavs, the Mavs should be in a spot here to take advantage of that dog position. Tony, what's your thoughts on this game?
This is as I spoke to, or at least spoke about earlier, is clarity. And there's about three different ways to go in this game. Really, if you know or have a feel who's going to play, who's not going to play. I mean, I have cashed. I guess you want to call it intelligently. That's what I want to call it, right? I passed on the total when Dallas was playing San Antonio in the last game. Okay, listen, without Irving, without Doncic, heck, without Doncic, period, I'm under the total with this Mavericks team, and I've cashed the last two. They're actually 5 out of the last 7 games. 5 of them have come under. And if there's no Irving and there's no Luka, and if there's no Hardaway, let's throw Hardaway in this, right?
Yeah.
You play the under here. Here's the problem. Bury this under right now, bury it, and then all of a sudden you get an announcement that Irving and Hardaway are both in. You're going to get nothing but a Russian middle. You're trying to get off of it. So that's the problem with that. Now, maybe you go small, maybe you do some props. As Matt has suggested, there's lots of ways to attack this game. As far as the side goes, listen, since Jared Vanderbilt has been inserted in the starting lineup for the Lakers, they have a defensive rating that's not good. It's the best over that stretch. 108.9 per 100 possessions per cleaningtheglass.com. And the caveat there, people keep saying, yeah, but Tony, they haven't faced anybody offensively. Well, that's not that far off. It's actually true. The last 4, for instance, Toronto, New York, New Orleans, Houston, and the leading scorers over that period of time, Russell, Davis against the Orleans, where Davis had the big double-double, 35 points, 17 rebounds against the Pelicans. And then the last game, Reeves leads the scoring. Gabriel leads in rebounding. Reeves gets the most, 7 assists in a 114-110 loss to Houston. It's just interesting stuff right here. How well do you play chess, guys? How well do you play chess? Should Irving and Harden be announced as active? You better be on the dog and the over. If they're not playing, you better be on the Lakers and the under.
Yeah, that's a great take on that. On just depending on what you expect to happen as far as the injury report. That's a great take right there. One thing that I did mention earlier, right, with Luka in, Kyrie out, the 2-0 straight up against the spread. That game against the Clippers, that's actually included in the trend here on the Mavs side when they're on the road avenging a home loss, 3-1 straight up, 3-1 against the spread. The one game they didn't cover in that spot was by a single point here. The Clippers game without Kyrie, like I said, with Kyrie in and Luka out, is included in that trend. They beat the Clippers outright as 8-point dogs that day. And like I said, with them being 5.5-point dogs here to the Lakers, it seems like the line is a little bit off here. I feel like the Mavs might be the play. The under as well is a strong look. Like Tony mentioned, the Lakers have been playing strong defense post All-Star break, but they just continue to struggle on the offensive side of the ball. You never know who's going to be the leading scorer for that team. Lakers playing a team they beat in their most recent in-season matchup, 14-6 to the under in this spot this season. So for me, I'm not sure I'm going to get to the window with either of these plays here, but lean to the under, lean to the Mavs as well as the dogs. Let's move on to the best bet section. Tony, let's start with you here. What's your best bet for today's show? Also, tell the people what they could find over at Wagertalk.com.
Well, you can find a bunch of really good, hard-working handicappers, and then you'll find me sometimes hiding in the corner from embarrassment, as I mentioned, from yesterday's college. Let's get on with the best bet. You can find me at Wagertalk, only at Wagertalk, guys. Since inception, since we did soft launch back in 2014, I've been there grinding away and have loved every minute of it. So one isolated spot on your in your orbit or in the internet, and that would be Wagertalk.com, and in combination, obviously, with the great people and hard workers at SportsMemo. So onward and upward. Let's have a better day today. The Cavaliers. I find this game really interesting, guys. Cavaliers are what I would call invisible. They're an invisible team. Why are they invisible? They just 2 days ago, they were at the top of net ratings in not just the Eastern Conference, in the whole league, at the top. They come into today's action tied with Boston in net rating. Why is this interesting? Because you don't hear a lot about the Cavs and the major portals, the NBA portals, by the talking heads there that want to tell you how good someone's been or how bad someone's been. Cavs have been neither, in truth, you guys. Let's look at this. This is they're over the top consistent. And again, invisible, if you will, playing in a consistent fashion that makes them neither the feature topic for those major portals I've mentioned. The steady, maybe steady is more accurately described, and the constant that morphs into being invisible. The water cooler conversation in America's offices, particularly today, right? St. Patty's Day, Friday. What's going to happen after work, if anyone's at work, because we got March Madness going on all day too, right? The big key here is Allen. And Allen and Mobley, when they're together in the paint, make this Cleveland defense, at least attacking the rim, almost stupid to attempt. That's how good they are together in the paint, protecting the rim. Allen's going to miss his fourth consecutive matchup tonight, guys. And what's really interesting is without Allen in the lineup, and you want to go and look at some of the possessions, some of the lineups of at least the five that they have on the floor, guys, Cleveland, Garland, Mitchell, Okoro, Stevens, Mobley. That's without Allen. It's the second most used lineup by Cleveland. How many possessions this year have they had together, those five? 74. Somebody gets 74 possessions, and not much, is it? And considering we're in the last 2 weeks of the season. Net rating minus 9.8 for those five. Garland, LeVert, Okoro, called a Mobley, and Ozma and Mobley. If CO is on target, or at least when he's on, he's dynamite, man. When he's not, you call him a good shooter, and he throws up 3 air balls, right? Plus 56.4 as a net. Lamar Stevens, look at him a little bit tonight in props, and you and Matt and both of you guys, Ronald, are big prop guys. So this is a guy with no Allen. You need to figure out what Stevens going to be able to do tonight in a game that I would love to be on Cleveland tonight. I really would be, and I'd like to be on the total. So I did. I'm on the total over 221. Without Allen in the middle, the defensive metrics, they fall off the table about 5 points per 100 possessions. Give me the over with the Cleveland and the Wizards, with Porzingis maybe having a good night. No Allen, over the 221.
Yeah, that's a good take on that Porzingis too, right there at the end that you mentioned. Yeah, that over is a nice look there. Matt, let's talk to you about what you got going on over at sportsmemo.com, and also your best bet for today's show.
Yes, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I was actually giving Tony some praise. I thought that was a great breakdown. I thought you made a lot of good points there. I really like that over as well. But for me, last episode, my best bet was Zach LaVine PRA, and he killed us on the hook. And I'm actually going right back to Zach LaVine. I think he's going to bounce back here. He had one of his worst games of the season, and he's facing his old team in the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think this is a great spot for him. Yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves are one of those teams who can tend to play a little bit better of defense. But like I was saying before, with that matchup with Vucevic and Rudy Gobert, I actually hope Rudy Gobert plays, because I think Vucevic is able to pull him away from that basket a little bit, opens up that middle a little bit more, and gives Zach LaVine that much more opportunity. This is one of those games that has a -2, 2.5 spread, whatever it's at right now, but it's relatively close. It's not a game that I see getting out of hand throughout either way. And it's got a 224.5 total. And, that's not one of the highest totals on the slate, but there's still some solid points to be scored here. And in addition to that, again, going back to Zach LaVine's last game, he shot 7 for 22 on the night, still had 25 points. And this is a player who is actually shooting at around 48% from the season. And this is from the shooting guard position. So that means he's very efficient. When he gets around the rim, he's very good at finishing. He's one of the better free throw shooters throughout the NBA on top of that. And one thing with Zach LaVine that has really caught my eye, and throughout the NBA, there's a couple players who can do this, and they have that burst where they have the ability to just, that quick first step off the dribble, and they have the ability to turn their corner on the defender. And I swear, it's guys like Zach LaVine, De'Aaron Fox, Damian Lillard, who are fast enough to get by their defender like that, to elevate around the rim and finish on top of that. So for me, again, it's Zach LaVine tonight. I've seen this number at 26.5 points and 27.5 points. So either way, if you want to shop around to look for the best number. But I think this is a great spot for Zach. And again, it's a revenge narrative. It's a bounce back spot in what feels like a must-win game for the Chicago Bulls. And my last point with Zach LaVine being, it's with Patrick Beverley. And since Patrick Beverley has become a member of the Chicago Bulls, the output of Zach LaVine has very much increased. And I think that's because of the veteran presence with Beverley. Beverley has gone to Zach LaVine and is like, look, your job is to shoot the basketball. Your job is to score for us. And I mentioned this on the last episode as well. The dynamic and the transfer of power between DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine has somewhat shifted. And don't get me wrong, DeRozan is still going to go out there. He's going to ball. He's going to have his day. But rather than it being DeMar DeRozan more often than not, I think it's turning to Zach LaVine being the one who's scoring the points more often than not. So for me here, I got Zach LaVine in the revenge game going over 27.5 points or 26.5 points, wherever you want to shop around and get this line. But it's Zach LaVine tonight.
I like it. Hopefully they get the win. Hopefully LaVine is a big part of that offense there to get that win. For me, my best bet today, I'm going to the Sixers and the Hornets game. I like this game to go over the 227. Sixers second in the league in offensive rating post All-Star break, but they're also giving it up as well, 22nd in the league in defensive rating. If you look at them on the first leg of back-to-back games, they are 7-3 to the over as well, averaging a combined score of 231.1 points per game. Most of that damage is being done in the first half, so if you want to take the first half over, that's also a nice look there. But if you add to the fact they're on the first leg of back-to-back games that they're the road favorite in the situation, they are 3-0 to the over, and in those three games combined, they're averaging 256 per game in those three games, and none of those games went into OT. So they typically play a faster pace. They're not playing that many. They're not playing much great defense either in that spot, because even though they're 3-0 to the over, it's mainly because of their opponent. They're 0-3 ATS in that spot. After the All-Star break, the Hornets kind of surprised teams. They were like the third. I think they were first in defensive rating for a couple of weeks there. They went under in 8 straight games, but in their last 3 games, they have gone over their total because Mark Williams has been gone. He was their guy in the paint that was kind of, he was that guy protecting the paint, really protecting the points in the paint, being that guy that was the shot blocker now and grabbing the rebounds. And the defensive rebounds. But now, with him out of the picture right today, I think I don't know how long he's going to be out, but I believe he's not active today. Embiid should be able to have a field day. I think he's going to have a whole bunch of offensive rebounds, a lot of easy putbacks here in the paint there versus teams on the first leg of back-to-back games as well. Same situation here for the Hornets that the Sixers are. They're 11-4 to the over, averaging 235.3 points per game. They also want to try and take advantage of teams that are on the first leg of back-to-back games who need to sort of save some legs there. So they're going to see a quicker pace here. Not a lot of defense, especially in the paint from the Hornets side. I like this game to go over the 227 tonight. From the premium standpoint, I do have 2 plays. The Sixers-Hornets game is one of them. So that's a free play there from a premium perspective. But other than that, I do have one more play, and I possibly might add a couple more. I'm looking on the prop side. I see some things that I like there. So we'll see. By noontime, I should have all my plays up. And with that said, our next show is on Monday, guys, for Tony, for Matt. Appreciate you guys for joining us here on the Triple Double Show. Once again, sportsmemo.com is where you can find me and Moneyline Matt. You can find Tony Finn over at wagertalk.com. A lot of the information on those sites are free, guys. You got the free picks site, right? The picks and analysis. You got the live odds pages. All it takes is a single email. You don't need to pay for anything just to get access to those things. So with that said, guys, our next show, like I said, Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, same channel here on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go. Till then, good luck with all your action this weekend. Peace.
Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wagertalk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wagertalk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.